Michigan U.S. Senator Alyssa Slotkin just introduced a bill called the AI Guardrails Act. Ms. Slotkin introduced the following bill on March 17 with a press release. The bill is to provide limitations on the use of artificial intelligence by the Department of Defense, be enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and the Congress assembled. I'm going to read the bill fully and go over certain sections afterwards to clarify some areas that reference other documents. First, we have Section 1, which states this act may be cited as the AI Guardrails Act of 2026. Section 2 states the limitations on use of artificial intelligence by Department of Defense. Section 2A states the sense of Congress. It is the sense of Congress that, consistent with America's AI Action Plan dated July 2025, the United States must aggressively adopt artificial intelligence with its armed forces if it is to maintain its global military preeminence, while also ensuring that the Department of Defense's use of AI is secure and reliable. Section 2B states the limitations, followed by 3 subsections. The Department of Defense is prohibited from using artificial intelligence as follows: for the execution of launching or detonating a nuclear weapon, for the monitoring, tracking, profiling, or targeting of individuals or groups in the United States without an individualized, articulable legal basis, regardless of the origin of the data used. In no event may the Department of Defense use AI solely for the purpose of monitoring, tracking, profiling, or targeting activities protected by the First Amendment or the lawful exercise of other rights secured by the Constitution or laws of the United States. In subsection 3 of limitations, it states, in the employment of lethal force by autonomous weapon systems without appropriate levels of human judgment and supervision, all other uses of artificial intelligence and autonomous weapon systems shall be consistent with Department of Defense Directive 3000.09, Autonomy in Weapons Systems, dated January 25, 2023. Section 2C states the waiver needed for certain autonomous weapon systems, followed with 4 subsections. Subsection 1 states the general use of a waiver. In general, the Secretary of Defense, without delegation, may waive the prohibitions under subsection B3 with respect to a system for up to 1 year, or renew such a waiver for up to 1 year, if the Secretary certifies in writing to the Congressional Defense Committees that extraordinary circumstances affecting the national security of the United States require the waiver and that the probability of the system producing a result inconsistent with commander intent does not exceed the documented error rate of trained human operators performing equivalent functions under equivalent conditions. The second subsection are the requirements for notifying Congress for each waiver. Notifications. For each waiver issued under paragraph 1, with respect to a system, the Secretary of Defense shall notify Congress, including submission of the certification required under such paragraph, not later than 5 days after a. the issuance of a waiver for formal development of such system, b. the issuance of a waiver for fielding of such system, and c. any modification to such system that results in the system algorithms, intended mission sets, intended operational environments, intended target sets, or expected adversarial countermeasures to substantially differ from those granted for previously waived uses. Subsection 3 explains the elements of the waiver. Each notification submitted under paragraph 1 shall include the following elements: the rationale for the waiver, a description of the autonomous weapon system or technology covered by the waiver, a description of the operational parameters and safeguards for the system, including 1. Assessments of system performance, capability, reliability, effectiveness, and suitability under realistic conditions. 2. A description of the associated training, doctrine, and tactics, techniques, and procedures. 3. The time frame and geographic area of intended use. 4. A description of measures taken to minimize the probability and consequences of unintended engagements or failures. 5. Clear procedures for trained operators to activate and deactivate system functions. 6. Post-deployment continuous monitoring mechanisms. 7. Results from the realistic system developmental and operational testing and evaluation that demonstrate the probability of the system misidentifying a target, taking unintended action, or producing a result inconsistent with commander intent does not exceed the documented error rate of trained human operators performing equivalent functions under equivalent conditions. And subsection 3D states that the Secretary of Defense has to include the anticipated duration of the waiver. Subsection 4 covers the form. A notification under paragraph 1 shall be submitted in unclassified form, but may include a classified annex as the Secretary determines necessary. And section 2D states the definition of AI. In this section, the term artificial intelligence has the meaning given such term in section 5002 of the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Act of 2020. Alrighty, that is the bill introduced by Michigan U.S. Senator Alyssa Slotkin. Let's go through it just a little more and clarify some things. In Section 2A, it mentioned America's AI Action Plan from July 2025. In that plan, President Trump stated, "Today, a new frontier of scientific discovery lies before us, defined by transformative technologies such as artificial intelligence. Breakthroughs in these fields have the potential to reshape the global balance of power, spark entirely new industries, and revolutionize the way we live and work. As our global competitors race to exploit these technologies, it is a national security imperative for the United States to achieve and maintain unquestioned and unchallenged global technological dominance. To secure our future, we must harness the full power of American innovation." The AI Action Plan consists of 3 pillars: accelerate AI innovation, build American AI infrastructure, and lead an international AI diplomacy and security. So that is why Senator Slotkin says in Section 2A that consistent with America's AI Action Plan dated July 2025, the United States must aggressively adopt artificial intelligence, AI, within its armed forces. It is a statement that reiterates the plan from earlier in this presidential term. In Section 2B3, it states, "All other uses of artificial intelligence and autonomous weapon systems shall be consistent with Department of Defense Directive 3000.09, Autonomy in Weapon Systems," dated January 25, 2023. This is a 24-page document that will be linked in the description below, but I will state the directives and sections from the updated version. The DoD Directive 3000.09 establishes policy and assigns responsibilities for developing and using autonomous and semi-autonomous functions in weapon systems, including armed platforms that are remotely operated or operated by onboard personnel. It establishes guidelines designed to minimize the probability and consequences of failures in autonomous and semi-autonomous weapon systems that could lead to unintended engagements. It also establishes the Autonomous Weapon Systems Working Group. In the DoD 3000.09 directive, there are 5 sections. Section 1 is general issuance information, where it states the applicability of these types of systems and the policies behind them when using them. Section 2 states the responsibilities of all the acronyms you can think of: the USDP, the USD-ANS, the USD-RNE, the .NE, etc. Basically, it is a system in which autonomy in weapons is regulated and implemented. Section 3 is titled Verification, Validation, Testing, and Evaluation of Autonomous and Semi-Autonomous Weapon Systems. Similar to Section 2, it's how these autonomous and semi-autonomous weapons are actually updated and implemented. Section 4 are guidelines for review of certain autonomous weapon systems. The most important part of this is the flowchart to help determine if senior review and approval is required, which is the picture on the screen right now. Section 5 is titled Autonomous Weapon System Working Group, which are full-time federal government employees, permanent part-time federal employees, whatever that means, or service members on active duty working with all the acronyms we mentioned earlier. Overall, the DoD 3000.09 directive mandates human control over lethal autonomous weapon systems, also known as laws. It does not ban them. Instead, it sets the framework for safe, ethical, and legal development of these systems. The last thing I want to mention about this bill is in the last section D. It reads, "In this section, the term artificial intelligence has the meaning given such term in Section 5002 of the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Act of 2020. The term artificial intelligence means a machine-based system that can, for a given set of human-defined objectives, make predictions, recommendations, or decisions influencing real or virtual environments. Artificial intelligence systems use machine and human-based inputs to perceive real and virtual environments, abstract such perceptions into models through analysis in an automated manner, and use model interference to formulate options for information or action. Alrighty, that is the bill. To summarize, first, it reinforces that the United States must aggressively adopt AI within its armed forces if it is to maintain its global military preeminence, while also ensuring that the Department of Defense's use of AI is secure and reliable. Second, it limits certain ways the Department of Defense is prohibited from using AI. Third, it lays out the ways a waiver is to be filled out by the Secretary of Defense if there are extraordinary circumstances affecting the national security of the United States that require the waiver. And fourth, it defines artificial intelligence in this manner at the end of the bill. There will be some links in the description if you want to do some more research yourself. If you could please like and subscribe. Also leave a comment on what you think of the bill.